replacing shit with worse shit.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
What the hell?
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 Hello, everybody, and welcome to What the Hell Should I Watch? We are the weekly rundown of what we're watching, which may become what you're watching. We come at you every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on stevestebbing.ca. And technically, this is the season 3 premiere of the show. The restart after VIF, a bunch of films. Well, for me, total 30 films over. I'll throw the other 4 in there that I did pre-screening. 30 films over 10 days. And yeah, it's an intense undertaking. We've had a little rest and now back at it. I will say that there's definitely a lot that we missed in the time that we weren't making the show regularly. So I'll kind of pepper those reviews in later episodes as they come, because there's a lot. There's a lot. Chloe and I even checked out 2 regular run films while we were out there. So there is a bunch to talk about, but got to keep current and got to keep moving with the current stuff, which does
trending.
Yeah, exactly. Which does include this week 2 VIF titles, so 2 films that are pretty fresh in our minds to talk about that are now in regular to limited release, as well as, let's just say it, Keanu being just adorable and lovable as he does. He's just so good at it. Scott Derrickson cementing his name in horror. Let's get started right now. That's right, fresh for your eyeballs this week. What's new in theaters? And comedies feel like few and far between in what gets released these days. So it is very refreshing when a comedy gets made and gets put out in theaters, especially one for me, because I'm a stoner at heart, with Seth Rogen in it. But this is actually Aziz Ansari taking the helm of a major motion picture in a big, big way. This is Good Fortune.
A well-meaning but rather inept angel named Gabriel meddles in the lives of a struggling gig worker and a wealthy venture capitalist. Starring Seth Rogen, Aziz Ansari, Keke Palmer, Sandra Oh, and Keanu Reeves. Written and directed by Aziz Ansari.
So, I mean, fans of Park and Rec or Master of None, you are probably already very much into what this movie is offering. This is Aziz Ansari writing, directing, and starring in his first feature film. And his dad shows up, which is a person, and just I assume all the writing for him is based on the real dude. Seems like a really cool dude. Like, I really like him a lot anytime he shows up in one of his projects. But and then Seth Rogen on the other side of it being the tech bro, in which the lives are swapped between by Gabriel, who is an angel that he's a lower level angel. He stops people from texting and driving. He's the angel that taps your shoulder so you look up and avoid rear-ending something. But and he's just got this precocious naivete, but also this want to do more and be more in his life. So he's going through like an existential kind of crisis, wanting to be better. So he strives to find a lost soul and sets his sights on Arj, which is Aziz Ansari's character. And the growth of character within Gabriel is so good. Like, I don't know, as a human being, we already are predispositioned to love Keanu Reeves. everything you hear about him, he's just a good human being. And now with this press junket for this, it's just showing off more of how this guy is fantastic and like a good ambassador for Hollywood, I would say. Gabriel is even more lovable. There's a certain Tedness to his character. Like Bill and Ted, there's that goofiness, that kind of, that, like I said, like a naivete, like an aw shucks naivety to him. And I really, really dig that. And Keke Palmer, I wish she had a little more to do in this movie, but I think Keke Palmer is really great and she makes every line just perfect. I'm a big fan of hers. And there's also some really great people that pop up around just quickly, like Joe Mandy, who was Haley's boyfriend for a bit on Modern Family. It's the one that
Okay.
works for Claire.
Mm.
Yeah, I think he's really funny. Stephen McKinley Henderson, who was amazing in Civil War. I don't know if you ever saw Civil War with Kirsten Dunst. It's really good. Sherry Cola is an actress I really enjoy. And Matt Rogers, who hosts the Fashionistas podcast with Bowen Yang. He appears in this one too as Seth Rogen's tech bro. And this movie is just, it works. It's really funny, and like I said, it feels like comedy doesn't get released as much anymore in theaters. It's all about big action movies or fantasy films, or I'll say it, Marvel movies, superhero movies, that kind of stuff. And a lot of comedy goes by the wayside, so it's good to see Good Fortune get released and be a genuinely solid film. The score for this one was done by a guy I've already talked about on this film and groveled all about, because Carter Burwell does the music for this movie. And like I've said before, he's Cohen's guy and he's just done incredible work. The last time I talked about him was for the movie Honey Don't. But he's working on Martin McDonagh's next film, Wild Horse 9. So that's very cool. And it was shot by a person I already talked about, Adam Newport Barra, who shot Splitsville recently. And he did the studio for Seth Rogen. So friends in that crowd. But he's shooting Olivia Wilde's new film right now, The Invite, which is a comedy. And that'll be Olivia Wilde's follow-up to Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess she hasn't been
She
in
hasn't done
anything
anything
since
since
then.
that movie.
Well, I
And this
mean, there was
movie's
a lot of
done.
problems on set for that film, so
Mm-hmm.
it makes a little
That,
sense.
I mean, according to reports, that she caused herself. So it's an interesting thought. But this movie is, I think, in the can. So, no, there was no scandal coming off this one. So that's a good thing. But I don't know. I think Good Fortune's worth checking out. And I think it's a good date movie. And we don't get enough comedies in theaters. And this isn't like a gross out comedy or a raunchy comedy or anything. They're swearing and everything, but I just think it's like a smart and fun film, and with a great cast. That central four of them are just fantastic. So I definitely recommend this one. Moving on, Scott Derrickson is following up. I think this might be Scott Derrickson's first sequel to one of his own films. But I never saw this one coming, to be honest. I knew that they were going to do a sequel in this one, but I didn't know how they were going to do it. And it may on the outside look like they're borrowing a little bit, but I think they managed to do something new and original. And this is Black Phone 2.
As Finn, now 17, struggles with life after his captivity, his sister begins receiving calls in her dreams from the Black Phone and seeing disturbing visions of three boys being stalked at a winter camp known as Alpine Lake. Starring Mason Thames, Madeleine McGraw, Jeremy Davies, Demian Bisher, and Ethan Hawke. Written and directed by Scott Derrickson.
So this on the outside looks like it's borrowing from both Friday the 13th and from Nightmare on Elm Street, because essentially you have a grabber that is now haunting Gwen in her dreams, and you have to go to a summer camp. So it's kind of mixing of like classic things.
Yeah.
And there is a shot in this movie that is like a beautiful homage to a kind of terrible slasher movie from the early 80s called Curtains. Um, but it has like a very iconic sequence in it that I really feel like Scott Derrickson is playing with for this film. And another funny thing is Scott Derrickson's son, Atticus, is actually the one that scored this one. So it's a family affair for this. But I really dig what Scott Derrickson and Robert Cargill were crafting with the second film, because this film is dealing with consequence and trauma of consequence and everything that Finn went through, and transferably what Gwen is taking on too, right? Because there's such a revelation in Gwen's character as well that she has to come to grips with. And in doing so, it manages to shift the main narrative off of Finney onto Gwen. So Gwen kind of, through the first like little bit of this film, becomes kind of the main focus of the film. I feel in a large degree. Like they both have their things, right? Like, but I think that she's got the breadth of it because she's becomes kind of the grabber's focus of the film. So, but I love the Super 8 stuff they do, the shift of perspective when it goes into her dream. Like it's fun. It does that kind of record scratch pop. No, not scratch, but that record pop of you just putting a record on with the needle just hitting the
Right.
record. Like
Yeah.
it's done pretty well, and stylistically, I feel like Derrickson really has it going on. Um, I feel like this film was billed to be a lot scarier than I felt it was. Um, Maybe I'm just jaded or sanded
Yeah.
down or
That's how I
something.
feel about a lot of modern horror. Like nothing scares me
Yeah.
anymore, and that's upsetting. But I think that's a me problem.
Yeah, and that's why I don't hold it against the movie, because I feel there are some well executed jump scares, and jump scares are something that is a bone of contention for me, because I feel like it can be overused, and you have to use it correctly, and you have to use it in a way that has some kind of substance to it.
Yeah, meaningful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but I feel like the limited ones there are all acceptable in my mind. And Mason Thames, I mean, this kid's so busy. He was in the How to Train Your Dragon movie a few months ago. He's got this movie, and then next week that Regretting You comes out, the new Colleen Hoover one. It's him and what's her name? McKenna Grace
Okay.
has romantic interests, and it also is like, holy crap, McKenna Grace is like now in romantic leads in a movie,
Yeah,
and that's so
yeah,
weird.
that's odd.
That's super weird. But yeah, he's just a busy kid right now, and I think he's killing it. He's good in this one. I really like Madeleine McGraw, who plays Gwen in this. I think she's really good. And Damien Bashir, always good. Always a good actor. He's just he's just got so much substance to him, all of his roles that he brings. But I dug it. It's a solid sequel, and I think Derrickson has another Halloween movie, a solid Halloween movie, though people will check out. Like I said, Atticus Derrickson did the score for this one. He previously did the score for VHS 85. And it was shot by Par M. Ekberg, who shot the Jonas Ackerlund film Lords of Chaos with Rory Culkin and Emery Cohen, which is a excellent film based on a true story. And again, the music video dork comes out in me, and I have to mention that he did the video for The Way You Used to Do by the Queens of the Stone Age. And they're an all-time favorite band, so of course I'm going to bring that up. But Black Phone 2 is worth seeing in theaters. It's got the thrills to it. It's got the sound design to it. And I think that's exactly where Derrickson wants people to pick it up, rather than when it hits streaming and in whatever window it has, whether it be 6 to 8 weeks or even less. Who knows what it's like these days. All right, I got 2 to finish off this segment, and they're both films that Chloe and I checked out at. Sorry, I have 3 things to close out on, and 2 of them are ones that Chloe and I checked out, and the third one is actually my final film of the festival. But let's get it started with some existential dread. In my opinion, Rose Byrne probably giving the performance of her career. This is a dark one. It is If I Had Legs, I Would Kick You.
With her life crashing down around her, Linda attempts to navigate her child's mysterious illness, her absent husband, a missing person, and an increasingly hostile relationship with her therapist. Starring Rose Byrne, Conan O'Brien, Danielle MacDonald, Christian Slater, and ASAP Rocky. Written and directed by Mary Bronstein.
I feel like Christian Slater is like a spoiler, but his voice is pretty unmistakable though, right?
Yeah.
Like as soon as you hear the husband's voice on the phone, you're like, that sounds like
Yeah.
Christian Slater. This, I don't feel like I'm overselling it by saying this is Rose Byrne's best performance that she's given, because
and
there
she's a horror girl too. Like she's
Insidious.
always somebody's mom.
But this time it's like, and the way that it's done, especially being a parent, it's like a clingy child. The camera is like a clingy child.
Yeah.
The whole time. It's super close. Doesn't give
everything about this film is overwhelming. Like it's overstimulating.
Yeah, over and over again. And the kid, you don't see the kid's face at all, and just
yet somehow persists to be the most annoying child in cinema.
Like,
I was so annoyed by this kid, but like that's part of it. Like that's the emotion that's supposed to be invoked here.
And Conan O'Brien turning in a performance of his first dramatic performance, and
which was fantastic.
Is so good as like an exasperated therapist, because they're both therapists. That's what's the crazy thing when you find out that they're both therapists.
Yeah, like because I know that therapists have to get therapy, but like isn't it supposed to be somewhere else, not your coworker?
Not your coworker.
The guy who works in the room over? Like
yeah. It feels like there's some ethics being crossed there.
Yeah.
But Mary Bronstein, this is this might be her first film. But just an incredible vision of how like when everything crops up in your life, how brutal just the simpleness of life can become. Like, and I mean, the daily routine being chained essentially to the hotel room. Like there's just so much going on in her life, and this feeding tube thing. And it's just, and the indifference that's shown around her to her plight, like essentially like just get over it. You just got to do it.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
No.
And nobody tells her what to do. Like they just keep telling her like, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. And she's like, what do I do? And they're like, ooh.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know. It was dark as hell. Just a dark film. And some really poignant moments in it. I really, really dug it. And it was like the middle piece, or no, the third piece in a long first day. Because then we went to the whole tension of understaffed hospital floor in late shift, but that's for another podcast. Let's get to the nerdy stuff. Only one thing I really wanted to bring was the film. We're talking about how great it was shot and how close it was shot. It was done by a cinematographer named Christopher Messina, who did another film that I saw at VIFF and reviewed at one of my pre-screenings. He did the film Our Hero Balthazar, which I really, really enjoyed. So 2 great films from VIFF. that this guy did. So he had a good year too. Him and Linklater were the twofers at VIFF. Also, Radu Jude, but we didn't get to see either of his films. He did Dracula and Continental 85, I think was his other film there. I might be getting the year wrong on that one, but you said after the movie, it's not a movie that you could like recommend, but I'm going to be a sicko and I'm going to say, if you like cinema, you should see this film, because I think it's one of the more original looking films this year. And I think there are going to be some conversations about this film, maybe during award season for Rose Byrne. I hope so. I think she's so good in this film. You agree?
Yes, I agree.
All right, moving on to another one we checked out at VIFF. Actually, a film we checked out the following day after If I Had Legs, I Would Kick You. And this was the first of our Richard Linklater 1-2 punch. Still waiting for a release date on that Nouvelle Vague, if there is one. But this was Ethan Hawke just eating the scenery. This one was Blue Moon.
Tells the story of Lorenz Hart's struggles with alcoholism and mental health as he tries to save face during the opening of Oklahoma. Starring Ethan Hawke, Margaret Qualley, Bobby Cannavale, and Andrew Scott. Directed by Richard Linklater. That's who that was, Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, that's as the bartender. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's so great in the movie too.
Oh yeah.
He plays such an archetype in this film, because and it's so funny because that write-up that you read there is so much more about the subtext of what this film is about than what the film is actually about. Because what the film is actually about is this guy that loves to own the room every time that he's in it. And when he's in the room and he feels like he is socially above everyone in the room, he owns the room, right? Like Lorenz Hart is a storyteller and he is the man of the moment. But anytime the dynamic changes, he becomes the sniveling sycophant that loves everything that you've done, and I have done nothing. You have done everything in this world, and blah 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 blah. He's like, the way that Ethan Hawke plays him is
so good,
on a dime. It's so well done.
That is the best Ethan Hawke performance I've ever seen, and I fucking love Ethan Hawke. So
yeah. Well, and I'm going to be completely honest, is when we went into this movie, I thought I was, as we were watching the movie, I was like, oh fuck, I've lost Chloe. Like, we've lost Chloe here. I didn't know how into it you would be, but I think just when the characters are so richly written, when the dialogue is flowing so well, it's hard not to be taken by it.
Yeah, like that's the thing, is that like you're right in that if you didn't drag me to see this movie during VIFF, I would not have seen this movie. Like, even if you recommended it to me, I'd be like, it's not my bag.
Mm-hmm.
But because this movie is so well crafted and the actors just knock it out of the park, like, I did enjoy this movie that I feel like if it was framed or done in any other way, I wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And that seriously says something about the way that this movie was crafted, because a truly good movie will make you like it even if it's not your usual watch.
Be able to transcend that and still be an engaging and memorable experience. And Blue Moon does have that. Like, it has banter down to a key. It has like jokes that come back that I think or moments that come back that I think are really, really great. And yeah, Ethan's so good in this movie. He's so
like,
good.
I can't say it enough. Like,
yeah,
I could just say over and over again in 100 different ways just how good Ethan Hawke was.
Yeah.
And that could be the entire show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. And Margaret Qualley is absolutely mesmerizing in the film too. She's a blonde in this film, and it's just
like a
really
platinum
took me back.
blonde.
Platinum blonde, yeah. The writer who wrote this film wrote the book for me and Orson Welles, and that's a movie that I kind of correlate this one with in Linklater's career, which is a good film that just probably won't get the attention that it deserves. And I feel like Blue Moon is that kind of a film because it is kind of focused in what it's talking about. It's true to a large degree of both Linklater films that played the festival, because the other film is so, classic film oriented that people will glance over it. Like you said, if I didn't drag you to this movie, never would have watched it, never would have been on your radar at all. But me and Orson Welles very much like that. Zac Efron was in it, and it was like a really solid like stage play movie. Nerdy bits of this one. The score for this one was done by Richard Linklater's regular guy, Graham Reynolds, as well as it was shot by Shane F. Kelly, who is actually Linklater's regular cinematographer as well. So he always keeps it in the same wheelhouse every time, which is crazy because the kind of scope of the films are all different. So I'm just kind of blown away that there's such a kaleidoscope in what these guys can do. And fun behind the scenes fact, Ethan Hawke had his head partially shaved due to the real comb over that Lorenz Hart had. Yeah, because like you said, he looks awful in this movie. You said that the first thing you said to me when we got out of the theater. Ethan Hawke looks terrible in that movie. Yes, he's not heartthrob Ethan Hawke in this film.
No.
Or middle-aged daddy Ethan Hawke as he is now.
No.
Let's just say, even in this episode alone, going from the grabber Ethan Hawke to Lorenz Hart Ethan Hawke is a very steep divide.
Yeah.
But if you want a good drama that has some good laughs into it and some rich character work and script work, Blue Moon is a fantastic film. And as a film that's really just going to be in limited release, I feel like it does need more people to talk about it. But I just think it's a good time at the movies, and highly recommend this one. How do you feel on the recommendation side?
Yeah, I mean, I do recommend this movie, but I don't know anybody personally that I could recommend this movie to.
That's fair enough. All right, let's finish off with what I finished Viv off on, and it was the meeting of Kelly Reichardt, a cinematic mind of a very distinct filter, and Josh O'Connor, who really can do no wrong at this point. This one is the mastermind.
In 1970, failed architect James Blaine Mooney and cohorts wander into a museum in broad daylight and steal 4 paintings. When holding onto the art proves more difficult than stealing them, Mooney is relegated to a life on the run. Starring Josh O'Connor, Alana Haim, Hope Davis, John Magaro, Gabby Hoffman, and Bill Camp. Written and directed by Kelly Reichardt.
So yeah, this is different Kelly Reichardt. Kelly Reichardt, known for Wendy and Lucy, Certain Women, Showing Up, was her last film, I believe. And Meek's Cutoff was the debut. It's the first film I saw of hers, which was a Western with Michelle Williams. But what felt like Reichardt's version of a genre film. This is the first return to a genre-like film for me, and I think it's just the element that Josh O'Connor is an art thief, and that there's an element of tension, there's an element of secrecy. There are things that don't generally appear in a Reichardt film. I mean, she also did a film called First Cow. That might be close to a genre film as well. But it's, I don't know. And at the same time, you're having this shitty character that's, really making shitty choices.
Yeah.
But it's Josh O'Connor. So you kind of like, you want to let it slide because is Josh O'Connor. Like he's really great, and I really really dig him. And it was supposed to be actually Kristen Stewart playing his wife in it, but instead, because of scheduling conflicts, it was Alana Haim that picked up the role from the band Haim. And she doesn't really have a lot to do in the film. So I'm wondering if maybe there was a more expanded role if Kristen Stewart was actually going to do the role. But I enjoy her as well. She was really great in Licorice Pizza. So I was hoping for more from her. But this is mostly Josh's film. And it's got that Reichardt 70s style lens to it. But the score, I think, is where it comes through again as being like a genre film, because it is like a simmering jazz, like hi-hat and snare, like
Okay.
score, like beat to it. No other instrument, just that kind of going. And it makes the film like kind of like simmer like jazz, like jazz essentially. Like it makes it just adds a little element to every moment, especially like the ones I was saying, the ones where we're under, maybe he possibly gets caught. Like there's some tension and stuff, and I think it amplifies it really, really well. It was done by a guy named Rob Mazurek. It was actually his debut as a composer, as a film composer, and I think he really, really knocked it out of the park. Let's get even nerdier here. The film was shot by Christopher Blauvelt, who is Kelly Reichardt's usual cinematographer, but also did some good films elsewhere, like May December for Todd Haynes. Did Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot for Gus Van Sant. Did the most recent Emma adaptation with Anya Taylor-Joy. So he's done some solid stuff. And of course, I have a music video. He did the music video for Dark Necessities by Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go. The Mastermind, again, I feel like cinephiles are really going to get this one. You didn't get to experience this year, but I hope next year there'll be a Reichardt film so you can get your toes wet on her filmography a bit. But
Yeah.
there is a quiet beauty to her film, sometimes some long shots, and I really think The Mastermind has a lot of great work, especially in that third act, and the ending is just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful, especially for the character to that this is the last time we see him. So I really dug it, but like I said, unless you're a cinephile, you're probably not going to be looking for this one. Let's go to one more film, but this is something you can stream right now. It's right on the streaming pile this week. Just one, and it's a remake that honestly for me came out of absolutely nowhere. They're dipping back into the 1992 thriller market for this one. It is called The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
An upscale suburban mom brings a new nanny, Polly Murphy, into her home, only to discover she is not the person she claims to be. Starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Micah Monroe, Raul Castillo, and Martin Starr. Directed by Michelle Garza Cervera. Available on Disney+.
So yes, this is a remake of the Annabelle Sciorra and Rebecca De Mornay film that honestly came out in a time where this type of storyline, danger from within the house, wasn't overdone. So by this point, like 35 years later, we've seen a lot of these type of stories. I mean, we have one coming up with The Housemaid that I see the trailer for every time I go to the theaters right now. So it feels unoriginal, not fresh. And the thing that took me into this film and kept me in this film is not the story. It's not the fact that they're remaking a movie that I particularly loved or anything like that. It's because it has Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I very much enjoy, and has
Yeah.
Micah Monroe. I've always loved Micah Monroe, especially because the last thing I saw her in was Long Legs. So as soon as I saw her name in the billing, I was like, hell yeah. And she's the villain role. Shit, yes, I'm totally in. I haven't seen the original film for a very long time, so I don't know how much liberty they're taking with this one and exactly how much the end revelation was the same as the first movie. I don't think it was. I think it's completely different this time. But this one feels a lot more about latent trauma and that kind of stuff. So that does feel new because of how do you do a horror or a thriller without trauma right now? Come on. But like I said, the cast makes it work to be a middling film. It's nothing special. It's probably something you'll watch in the background, or it's nothing that you're aiming to watch. It's going to be a secondary choice, I think. But what really surprised me is Cervera, the director of this film. I had seen one of her previous features before, and it's a movie that really surprised me, especially in the sound design. I really, really liked it. And I think it's available on Shudder right now. It's called Heosera, the Bone Woman. This movie is fucking crazy. It's like, it's really dark. It's really creepy. And yeah, I really, really dug this one. A lot of people were talking about it around the festival times when that one came out. So I remember checking out on that recommendation, just being very blown away by it. But so I didn't know it was her film until the credits came up at the end, and there is a gnarly bit of gore in the third act that I thought was really cool looking, but nothing else really set it apart as being from any, like, it felt very studio. So I was like, I like that she got a chance to make a live action, a Hollywood film, a studio film. I just wish that there was more identity that came out of it. I always find it funny when comedic actors show up in things, but Ricky Lindholm is in this one. She plays Martin Starr's wife. And whenever comedic actors show up in thrillers or horror films, I always have to bring it up. But this one was adapted by Micah Bloomberg, who did a film called Sanctuary with Micah Monroe and Christopher Abbott that I hear very good things about. I haven't actually seen it, but I've heard a lot of good stuff. And Creative Control, a movie I have seen and actually really, really dug, is super original. And so I like Micah Bloomberg there. And he did a show on Amazon Prime called Homecoming that's really weird and really twisted. And he was the creator of that one. Such a weird show, but I really dig that one. But the original film was actually done by Amanda Silver. It was her debut as a screenwriter back in 1992. And then since then, she has been writing either the original story or the screenplays for films like Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
Jurassic World. That one's
nice.
for you.
Well, less nice, but appreciated.
And Avatar Way of Water.
Okay.
So some heavy hitters in there.
Yeah.
The score for this one was done by Ariel Marks, who did the score for Sanctuary. Also, a really funny film with Rachel Sennott in it called Shiva Baby, which I really, really dug. As well as the limited series Dying for Sex with Michelle Williams, Candy with Jessica Biel, and Happy Face, which was on Paramount Plus. And I think it was shot in Chilliwack in Abbotsford. I think the prison is in the Abbotsford prison that they.
Oh, okay, cool.
So local stuff. The film was also shot by Joe Willems, who I talked about recently, because Joe Willems shot The Long Walk, which is a way better film than this one. Way, 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 way better film. Actually, one of the best films of 2025. If you haven't seen The Long Walk yet, you should see it. Definitely before you watch this film. This film is not worth watching. The Long Walk is worth watching. That's my recommendation at the end of it. We're almost ready to get out of here, but I have some reminders before we head out. Right. We're we're backtracking a bit. There's a lot of stuff that was released in the time that we were off. So this is kind of me dipping back into that bag to just remind you that these films are out there. Like Mike Flanagan's adaptation of Stephen King's The Life of Chuck, which is on 4K now. This is a weird one. It's almost hard to recommend because it is not your conventional feeling film. It is being marketed a bit as a faith-based film, though I don't feel like any sort of religion is like addressed at the central nature of this film. I really feel it's kind of loosey-goosey in that nature.
Okay.
But Flanagan is a great filmmaker. He just really makes great stuff. And him and Stephen King also is beautiful stuff. And I mean, if this and Dr. Sleep aren't evidence of that, then I mean, come on. Also on 4K right now, and not even on streaming on Apple yet. F1 is available to own. This was a hell of a movie experience. Oh, also, sorry, Life of Chuck. I reviewed it on the June 13th episode. But F1, if you saw it in theaters or in IMAX, you know what I'm talking about. This movie will make your brain rattle. It's so well done. Joseph Kosinski knows what he's doing when it comes to making these kind of vehicular experience films between this and Top Gun Maverick. And Brad Pitt is a fucking movie star and looks every inch of it every time he's on screen. And I reviewed this one on the July 11th episode. Animation side also on the 4K. DreamWorks really hoping for the franchise here with The Bad Guys 2. I think they have it. I think they have a franchise here. I think it's interesting to look at. It sets itself apart in that way, where a lot of, especially through the latter parts of the 2000s to early 2010s, where a lot of films were looking the same, it's really setting itself apart. And I love the voice cast of this one. And I reviewed it on the August 8th episode, so you can check that one out there. On the downside, I Know What You Did Last Summer is out on Blu-ray, and this movie is a fucking dud, and it has a third act reveal that pissed me off immensely. But it's a good thing I have Eddington to just clean up the crumbs for me, so I felt a lot better by the time I left the movie theater that night. But I reviewed it and probably stabbed it a few times on the July 25th episode. And finally, Nobody 2, Bob Odenkirk sequel, action John Wick style. The sales of this movie were really let out with the whole normal guy being a brutal assassin. So that feels like it's like kind of being retread in this one, and it doesn't have as much effect. But Bob Odenkirk is so goddamn likable. I love Connie Nielsen. I don't know what Sharon Stone is doing in this movie. Her performance is just plain weird, just weird stuff. But it was enjoyable enough. Nothing to scream or shout about. But it's also on 4K as well. And before we bid you adieu, what's going on?
There's butts.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Hit us.
All right. So let's start with the good butt. And that is VHS Halloween, which released on Prime. I'm kind of a sucker for the VHS films. Like even the last one, which was like Aliens. I don't remember what the title was, but it's all alien. Oh, Beyond.
Beyond, yeah, VHS Beyond.
VHS Beyond. That one was a little weak for me, but VHS Halloween is fantastic. Like they're really kind of going back to kind of classic VHS.
Nice.
Where it's like kind of like low budget, right? There was only one segment that I was like, this is Hot Garbage, which is like the candy one. It just like I know it's a VHS movie, but like it made such like it was so illogical that it just threw me out of it completely. Where it's like, okay, but like this doesn't correlate. Like it doesn't make sense that this is what's happening when this is what the characters experienced before, and the characters are just crazy unlikable in this one. Like two of the characters, there's four in total. It's like a group of like four um college friends, I guess. And two of them are engaged, and she like doesn't want to be engaged to him, but he's like super like on about it, and he keeps referring to her as fiance. Like he doesn't say her name, it's just fiance. And it's so cringe, but it was comedic as well. I just had a problem with the overall story in that one, but the rest of them are fantastic. I don't really want to give away a lot because they are short segments, right? So kind of anything is like, I feel like I even said too much about the candy one. But
It's crazy
yeah,
the
like
legs that this franchise has.
yeah, and I hope it keeps going forever. Uh, because there's so much that they can do. Like short form horror is some of the best horror out there, and most of it is only online. Like you can only find it through YouTube, through small creators. So I really like that VHS kind of has this thing where it can just showcase a bunch of ideas and a bunch of concepts in a movie format. And kind of just like rapid fire those ideas. Yeah, I definitely recommend to watch VHS Halloween, especially since we are in October and we are getting
Yes.
very close to Halloween, and this is a super tone setting film.
Nice.
Okay, let's talk about the bad butt. Strangers Chapter 2.
Which we were let's talk let's give it a preface before this one, because right before we even started our in theater VIF press screening for Christy, our friend Mark told us not to see this movie.
Yeah, he was very adamant on not seeing this movie. And I don't know, I kind of feel like I should have listened. This movie is frustrating. Frustrating. And you know how horror films usually have like a build up, like at least like half an hour, 40 minutes until like stuff starts hitting the fan?
Yeah.
We get like 10 minutes in this film before it just gets crazy, and then you have kind of no idea what's going on anymore. It's just constant chase. And a lot, like, it got to the point where I was like, are we ever going to leave this setting? Like, is the entire film going to take place in this one building where nobody is, even though it's like she's in the hospital. Like
Yeah.
it takes place directly after the first film, and she's in this hospital, and the strangers break in, obviously, and there's nobody here. Like, I get that it's the middle of the night, but aren't hospitals supposed to have staff
That's what I thought.
at all hours? Because there's nobody here. And it's just ridiculous. And there's a reveal in this film that we're supposed to care about, and it's supposed to be a huge deal, even though we were already told that it happened in the beginning of the film. Like, we're literally told this information 15 minutes into the film, maybe. And then at the very end, it's like, guess what? This is what was happening. This is who it was. And it's like, I know. You already told me that.
Oh,
and
boy.
You know how in the first film, Madeleine Petsch's character, like, everybody's like, oh, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just smoking weed and you think this clown painting is a whole guy.
Yeah.
Well, in this film, she actually is stupid. And it's like, she wasn't in the first one, though. Like, she was the only one who actually kind of had a brain. And then in this, she's just angeringly stupid. Everything about this film is angering.
Well, I'll calm you down a little bit, because there's still chapter 3 to come.
I know, to be continued. It says to be continued at the end.
Just like the last one.
It's never gonna end. This is a plague at this point.
So that's a recommendation?
Oh, yeah, if you want to... I can't say it on YouTube. If you want to krill yourself.
Fair. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. But what are we going to talk about next week? That's right. A taste of next week, and going music biopic next week with Carmi or Lip.
Oh, yeah.
And his iteration of Bruce Springsteen while he records the Nebraska album, as we have Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere out next week. Out this week, and I'll be talking about it next week. Also, and I got my ticket for it today, so I'm very excited to be talking about it. I'll be talking about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which is going to be playing right here in Penticton, so I'm very excited about that. Also, I'm hoping Begonia will at some point play around me so I can see it, but hopefully by next week I can see it. Also, a Mormon going to Canada for a little bit of excitement in This Too Shall Pass, a coming-of-age comedy. Has got Ben from the young Ben from It. Is one of the kids in this one, as well as, and I'm looking at you and I'm seeing the excitement about this one, a found footage film called Dream Eater. And we all know Chloe's affinity for that genre. So that one will be fun. But that brings us to a close here. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Blue Sky at The Stevel Dead.
You can find me on Letterboxd at HoneyBunChloe.
You can also find all of the episodes for this show on stevestebbing.ca or go to the YouTube page, and please like and subscribe. You can also find us on shiftheads.ca. You can hear me a few different places. First, on After the Credits with Marina, Bill, and Melissa. You can find those episodes at atcpod.ca. You can also hear me on Tremble, the Horror Podcast with Kurt and Taylor. You can find those episodes at 3angrynerds.com. And you can also hear me now on Kelowna's AM 1150 every Friday just after the 8:30 news break. And you can also hear me on Shane Hewitt and the Night Shift, Friday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Toronto's News Talk 1010, found on the iHeartRadio network. You can also get all of those episodes wherever you get your favorite podcast. And that does it for us. We've emptied out our list for this week, so until next week, bye-bye.